All right. How's everybody doing out there? It's always a shock to me once we go live because I don't have a monitor. It's just boom, there you are. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I am Shane B. You're watching The Salty Bartender. Thanks for tuning in tonight. It is Wednesday, which Wednesday is a really good lineup. Well, every day is a good lineup at Westerly Live. But tonight we had Ask Dan at the 7 o'clock hour. We had Caswell tonight at 8 o'clock. And then The Salty Bartender at 9. So it's a great lineup. So thanks for tuning in. Let me see who we have, or maybe I can't. I don't have it pulled up. So right now you're probably watching us on our Facebook page at Westerly Live, which is awesome. Thank you for that. We really appreciate that. But did you know we also have a website called westerly.live? I got to make sure I stare at that camera up there. I'm used to being on a phone. Just started with the laptop. It's a much better picture. So yes, westerly.live, that is our website where we're streaming these simultaneously to the website as well. Now, the big thing was some people don't have Facebook, or Facebook is so difficult to see the archives. The software that we're using is allowing us to push these streams to all these different platforms at the same time, create an archive, which we can then catalog on the website. Now, the goal of that is eventually we're going to be pushing everybody to the website because we have a lot more freedom on the website. We're not under the oppressive rule, so to speak, of Facebook, and which I get it. The biggest thing that really, which you've seen in a lot of our streams, is the so-called copyright infringement. Now, we know that we're not infringing on anybody's copyright, but Facebook doesn't know that. Their algorithms pick this up, and they go ahead and they mute your stream. That's usually what they do, is mute part of it. The biggest thing we can get on the website, the archives, and all of that, and there's much more to come. So we can create an entire network, and we can navigate it, create an archive much more effectively and efficiently on the website. So pay attention to that. It is live right now. I'm still doing some tweaks. It was a pretty big project, but we're getting there. So let's start with the show. Of course, with the 9 o'clock hour. This is the Salty Bartender, so get yourself a drink. I think everybody's out there has earned that. We're now at 8 weeks with COVID-19. And the whole purpose when I started this show was to bring out of work bartenders and restaurant workers onto the show just so we could talk and have an outlet and get things out there. So I'm a bartender myself. Probably one of my favorite things to do on this planet as far as work goes. It's just a lot of fun. You get to meet new people. It's just fun. It's like you're throwing a party every single night when you're behind the bar. And it's just a lot of fun. So, of course, I encourage you to get a drink. Tell us in the comments what you are drinking. Ben will throw it up on the screen and we'll give you a shout out. So I'm going to go into a couple things here because I'm very happy tonight. Number one, we had a great day of testing with some new live streaming scenarios and technology. That went very, very well. But as many of you all know, well, I don't drink anymore. So with that being said, being a non-drinker, going out to a bar, our options are kind of limited as far as drinks. You got soda water, juice, soda, or those poor excuses for non-alcoholic beer that we've all known. Not to say any name brands, but they're just absolute trash until this company came along. Athletic Brewing Company out of Stratford, Connecticut. These are all non-alcoholic beers. These are delicious. This is their non-alcoholic IPA. Very hoppy. If you're an IPA fan, yes, I am. You see that? This is in the last year. That's the stress of building a company. But hey, I don't care. I like the salt and pepper look. If you close your eyes, you would think that you're drinking an IPA. But we're not having this one tonight because I get these over O'Keefe's Discount Liquors in Pawcatuck, up on top of the hill. And I was chatting with the owner last time I was in there buying those IPAs. I was like, they make a stout. You think you get that in? He's like, I'll look into it. So I go in there tonight, and guess what he had? He had the stout. This is what we're going with tonight. This is their all-out stout, non-alcoholic. I love stouts. Absolutely love stouts and porters. The flavors, the maltiness, a little bit of bitterness sometimes. If you have like a Guinness, you get that draught flavor. But this was the closest thing that I could find in non-alcoholic that tastes like the real thing. Now, one of my other favorites, because they just got these in over there too, so I just stocked up the fridge today. I'm a CBD seltzer fan. I love CBD. They're great. If you do like CBD, you know what I'm talking about. They're really good. Long Trail, the brewery, they have one out. All right, CBD seltzer. This is raspberry lime. This will be for another time, but if you're a non-drinker, I tell you, the options now, they're amazing. So there's just three, and I have a very discerning palate, so I know I like those. So I'm going to crack this open. I want to start pouring it. And our guest tonight is Glenn Thomas. You may know him as Glenn Kenzia when he was living in Westerly. He moved down to Nashville, so we're going to talk to him tonight. Bartender at the tap room till he moved down there, so we have a great show. So while I pour this, Ben, let's bring Glenn on, please.
Hey, Shane.
Hey, Glenn, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
That's awesome. Oh, you have a drink tonight?
I do. I have a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, the classic. Feels like the original craft beer to me.
Yeah, I agree. That was one of my favorites. I had that my first time when I was in college, and I just fell in love with it. It was just delicious.
Exactly.
Ale. Yeah.
It's funny. So when you were talking about the new non-alcoholic offerings, when I have my weeks off, I still look forward to that ritual of opening a beer. And there's a couple brands I love. There's one called Well-Being, and they're out of Maryland, and their beers they're non-alcoholic beers. They have a Hellraiser Amber Ale, and it's delicious. I don't know if they distribute to New England yet, but I can find it here in Nashville. And the other one I like is the new Brooklyn Special Effects. I don't know if you've had that one.
I have not. No, I just started finding these craft non-alcoholic beers.
Right.
I think it's the best thing.
Oh, it's awesome
to happen to beer. Honestly, it's amazing. Even if you, like you said, taking a break, I know a lot of people do that, but even if you are a drinker, but sometimes you don't want the alcohol.
Right.
Now there's things that are just really good. I think
exactly.
It's awesome. Yeah. I wonder if you can order those through the mail, the ones you were talking about.
I bet you could. Yeah.
I want to look into those.
Yeah, the legality of that is neutral.
Yeah. That's cool. But hey, let's do a toast to all of our fellow bartenders and restaurant workers who are still out of work. Keep your chin up, and cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, man. I tell you, thank you, Athletic Brewing Company. Wow. That is really, really good. A little bit nutty, too. Nuttiness in there.
Nice.
And I'm supporting our local breweries. Outer Light Brewing Company out of Groton. Good brewery right there. Cool. Well, Glenn, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
This is great. Yeah, I've seen you on a bunch of shows that we've been doing up here. So keeping in touch and keeping in contact with us Westerly.
That's it. Feels like I never left.
That's it.
It's great.
So you used to bartend over at the Nick?
Yep. Yeah. I was bartending there for a while, since about 2015. And then in 2017, we decided we were going to reopen that front bar, the tap room. So I managed that until I moved to Nashville last January.
Well, that's great. That tap room, that was a huge undertaking, I'm sure, because that came out nice.
Yeah,
food was delicious. Everything about it was really good.
Yeah, we didn't want to just kind of, reopen it as it was. We wanted to do a total overhaul and sort of reinvent what it was. And it was really fun to be a part of that, for sure.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed being part of a restaurant opening or a bar opening because it's like a clean slate, especially if they've asked you to come in and help. It's really good because you get to start and be like, oh, I've always wanted to do this, so let's do that.
Right. No, it was really fun.
That's cool. When did you move to Nashville?
Last January, so January of 2019.
Okay, and what brought you down there?
Music. So that was always sort of what bartending was supplementing my music career. And then I hit 30 and said, all right, I'm going to sort of give this a real considerate effort. So
Right.
I figured Nashville was the place to do that.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Nashville. Is that would that be considered like Hollywood is to an actor? Is
Yeah, yeah.
Nashville to a music? Oh, real. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's everyone you meet here pretty much is a musician or knows someone in the business or is, some iteration of the industry.
Hmm.
And sort of the association of Nashville tends to be country music, and certainly that's huge, but there really is everything: rock, pop, hip hop, you name it,
Really?
it's here. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
So, do you have the same band down there, or did you? Because I remember up here it was Wild
No.
Fun.
Yeah, and that was the thing, I kind of not left that behind, but took a break from that to sort of pursue this. Although I did go back up last summer for a couple weeks to Westerly, and we were able to play a few shows. And um, I plan to do that again this summer, but who knows with everything if they'll even do
Yeah,
live music.
exactly. Who knows what's going to happen?
Right.
Have you been doing any live streams while you're down there?
I have, yeah. So all my shows down here have been canceled, so I've sort of jumped in on the live streams, and that's been fun. It feels pretty intimate. Which I like about, playing in rooms and stuff. The one, obvious difference is people aren't there. So you're knowing people are watching and you're getting that sort of real-time interaction with comments and what have you. But that's sort of the only thing to me that separates it from the real thing.
Yeah, because we do our weekend concert series over at the Phoenix, and that's what the bands say when they're playing because they're playing to an empty house.
Yeah,
It's just me with a camera and I'm moving it around, and that's the hardest thing for them to adjust to is
right.
the lack of fans.
Sure,
Uh,
because that's
yeah,
huge. That's like in especially a rock band, they really feed off that energy.
right. One thing I want to start is getting some stand-up comedy acts, but we can't get one stand-up comedian because, and it makes sense. They say they feed off the energy of the crowd.
Totally.
So they don't know if a joke's going to fall flat or be good. So, which I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've all heard those sort of amateur comedians and no one laughs and it's it's uncomfortable.
it's got to be absolutely awful. I mean, at least with
Yeah.
a live stream, there's no one sitting there. I mean, if it's awful, we'll know it at
Right.
the end of the stream.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I see you got a good setup in there. Is that your home studio?
Yeah, this is my studio room, which I was doing back in Westerly on the side as well, recording and whatnot. So just kinda transfer that down here. Yeah, I got my amps and my keyboard and, um, yeah, got a little setup
That's pretty cool. So you play basically everything. It looks like.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of the, like, woodwinds or trumpet or brass or anything like that. None of the orchestral stuff.
Right. Gotcha. So the rock instruments,
Yeah, the cool ones.
the cool ones. There you go. So when you were at the Nick, that must have been great for you as well. So you had all those musical acts coming through
Right.
and your bartend, so kind of mixed and must have had a great time
Oh, it
while
was
you were
great.
working over there.
Um, as a musician, I was able to learn a ton about the industry and booking and meeting the bands and stuff. And one of my favorite things would be when there was a big band playing and I was bartending till 1 and they were finishing packing up. They'd want to hang out and sort of have their shift drink of the night. And
Of
like,
course. Yeah.
so, we'd get to talk and I'd get to meet all these musicians and stuff from Texas and kind of all over. And that was really cool.
That is pretty cool. So I remember a few years back, I just moved back to town and Rusted Root. Remember
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
when they were playing over there?
Yeah.
So take me through this booking because I don't understand how the music. I love music, but I don't understand how it works. How do you find these bands? Do you just call them up? I mean, what's the deal?
Yeah, in a lot of cases, it really is just about, a cold call unless you have a rapport with, the band themselves or their manager or their agent. A lot of times, um, maybe there's 5 or 6 big agencies in the country, and within each agency, they'll have some more upwards of 100 bands on each agency. Some are smaller boutique, but the big ones have a ton of bands. And they'll kind of look around the clubs of the country and say, okay, the Knickerbocker, you're a 400 capacity room. Here are the bands we have that would be suited for you. So sometimes it happens like that where they will approach the venue um, and say, are any of these a good fit on your end? Do you think these would be a good fit for your town and your demographics? And then on the other side, if there's a band we want, like Rusted Root, we went after them
Oh, okay.
because they used to play at Patty's and stuff. They have a big following in the area and a big history in New England for sure. Um, so that was an example of we reached out to their agent. They said, sure, they can do it. Generally, it's when they're routing a tour and it fits in that there's a night off or something in between. We're usually the night off between Boston and New York. Um,
Makes just like the old days. Providence was always the pit stop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And they throw out an offer and we kinda counter and then it just goes into negotiating what, the terms are.
that's amazing. So there's a whole industry. So you have these agencies who are looking to book the band. So you must be on like a list or something, and they're calling
Exactly.
you.
Yep,
I see.
yep.
Okay, because
Um,
that's a lot of nights to fill. I would imagine if you're
well, it's
trying to
interesting.
build it.
For us, it was we were primarily doing Friday, Saturday, big shows in the club, and then the tap room would do Thursdays and Sundays. So that sort of mitigated the pressure a little bit to get big acts all the time.
Gotcha.
But some of the clubs in Providence, I know struggle with that because pretty much they're trying to book big acts 7 nights a week, um, and it's a
I
challenge.
I know there's a lot of bands who are trying to make it big, but still, that's a lot of time
Yeah,
slots to fill. Yeah.
exactly, and just the logistics of everything, it becomes pretty crazy.
Oh wow. That's pretty. So you said you'd book acts in the tap room. I didn't know that. So that's separate from the main stage.
It is, yeah, in
Oh,
the
okay.
front of the tap room, we have a little stage. It can fit about 2 people, so generally acoustic acts, songwriters, or duos. Generally, it's not more than 2 people.
Well, that's cool. That makes pretty sense. So it's more that more intimate feel
Exactly,
to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's that more, singer-songwriter, intimate, sort of like a house show, setting.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was nice.
Hmm.
We really had some good shows in there, and it was just a good listening room. There aren't TVs in there, so you really don't have distractions and whatnot.
Right. So now you're in Nashville. Are you working part of a band? How I know there's many different aspects of the music industry to make
Right.
money. So primarily, like what are you doing in Nashville?
So, sort of 2 things. I'm releasing a solo album this week, but before that, I've been working, with a licensing and publishing company. So, it's a small salary to be a part of this, network, and they pitch your music to things like commercials, TV shows, film, and the placement fees from that are sort of what support you as an artist. And there's a whole bunch of musicians who do that that you've never heard of that sort of never get out of their house and are able to create this music from home that's in TV shows and whatnot, and they make a good living, and that's pretty cool.
That reminds me of Two and a Half Men. Remember that TV
Yeah,
show?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, his character. He was Charlie Sheen's character. So he wrote.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you're ready. So you will come up with this jingle, whatever it is, and
yeah,
then they'll go
exactly.
ahead and they'll try and sell it to different companies.
Correct.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I've been doing that, and then, on the side, still sort of keeping the, artist sort of solo stuff alive, and I have an album coming out this week, and we'll see where that goes, but,
That's awesome. Here we go.
hey, there's Ben with the, I like it.
Yeah. Hey, you got to plug the album. That's great.
No,
So
that's it.
where can you get the album?
So that would be my website, Glenn Thomas Music. It's on Spotify. All the singles right now are on Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, all that. Um, all the streaming sites,
Oh, the
basically.
streaming play.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, 'cause it's funny 'cause I saw it was a CD, so people can actually still buy CDs from you.
Yeah, you can buy CD and actually I have vinyl.
No way. You're pressing records too, huh?
Pressing records. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the other thing we did at the tap room. We played vinyl records, and Wednesday nights we let people bring in records, and we'd have a bring your own vinyl night. So
Oh, that's pretty cool.
yeah, it was cool. You'd have people sitting all around the bar with records and say, "Oh, play mine next." It was
Yeah.
fun. The bartender hated it, but
Of course, right? I know it's funny because I don't have actually. I have two records. I have an old Pink Floyd. Oh boy, which one was it? It was with Sid Barrett, one of the very original albums.
Mhm.
I forget where it is, and I have something else, but I know they're worth a lot of money. I wish I could find them.
Yeah, I've seen there's a website called Discogs, which is like a eBay for records, and some of the prices they're fetching is for the old ones are crazy.
Right. I mean, is it true? Do they actually really sound better? I don't think I've ever had a setup where I could tell.
And that's the thing, unless you have a crazy, high quality tube everything, which I don't, and most people I know don't. It doesn't sound better. It has its own sound though. It's a little warmer. It has sort of this electronic hiss and crackle, and it's not perfect like streaming or a CD.
Right. Yeah.
But to me, the real thing of it that I love is it forces you to sort of just be an active listener, and you're putting this physical thing down, you're putting the needle on it, and you're there to listen. Whereas, you put on the radio, you put on Spotify, it just kind of can go to the background.
Right. That's a great way to put it. I never thought about it that way. An active listener.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because I grew up with records. I remember, I'm sure we all did. We saw the evolution to
right.
tape and CD and MP3s and now streaming. Um, but it does. It brings me back all those records, and I don't know. I don't even know where they are now. Probably in the dump somewhere.
That's most people. Everyone said these will never come back.
Exactly right.
It's so funny.
Now there's only a handful of actual companies making records now. Is that how it
Uh,
is?
yeah, there were as about maybe 10 years ago, there were only a couple, and since the resurgence, there's now, um, I wouldn't say a lot, but there more and more are popping up
Oh, that's pretty cool.
to
Wow.
meet that demand. Yeah.
So, what style of music is your new solo album?
It's sort of folky Americana. If you were to sort of like strip the Wild Sun stuff down to acoustic and this stuff down to acoustic, it would sound the same. It's just sort of the same style of songs and whatnot, produced a little differently.
Okay, cool. You brought up Wild Sun. Now, for our early fans, back when we started doing the football games 2 years ago, Wild Sun was kind enough to let us use their music for our halftime and the beginning of the game. So, if you go back, that is Wild Sun. We're using their music. So, thank you for that, Glenn. That was great.
No,
Uh,
yeah, thank you. That was really
yeah,
fun.
it helped everybody. So, 'cause I remember
Exactly.
get your music out. It helped. We were just starting off with live streaming, and not knowing what we were doing, we were just putting everything out there. It's just let's try it. Let's see what sticks.
That's that's how you do everything in life.
That's exactly it. Yeah,
Uh,
just gotta keep on trying.
right.
Uh, so now that we've all been kind of cooped up for 8 weeks, how have you been dealing with this? What's your well, obviously you got a big studio right there, but
Yeah, I mean, most days I'm good if I can stay busy. I think that's the thing. Like if I'm sort of staying productive and busy and thinking um ahead but not too far ahead, like not a year out, just sort of the next week or two, just sort of getting through that. Then I'm good. And then the sort of it's when I look too far ahead and wonder when everything is going to lighten up and when things are going to get back to normal that I sort of have to step back and say, all right, just what can you do now? What can you do this week?
that's exactly it. Live in the now. We all do that. We all think ahead. It's like, okay, and it can get overwhelming. And like when I first started the when this whole thing started, I was doing the news, but it just became too much. I didn't have the time to do it anymore. But what I kept telling people is try meditation.
Hmm.
Uh, just be in the now, and it definitely helps.
Yeah,
Definitely helps. Yeah.
that's definitely like a great approach to projects, life, everything.
Yeah, life in general, especially
Yeah.
when there's not dealing with a COVID-19
Right.
pandemic, even just life in general. That's cool.
Yeah, I've
So
also sorry,
no, go ahead, please.
I have been going back to what I call YouTube University. I feel like there were all these things I said, "Oh, I wish I could do that." And then now that I have this free time, I say, "You know what? I'll spend 2 hours watching YouTube videos on this and see what I can't figure out myself."
Exactly. No, that's all it takes. It's sometimes I feel like we can get overwhelmed if we try and bite off too much in the beginning.
Right.
Like you said, don't just start off with 15, 20 minutes, an hour or two. And before you know it, you're a master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I
Yeah.
feel really grateful that we live in an age where you can pretty much learn anything from your home.
Oh yeah, it's great because when MIT and Harvard put their course catalog online, I'm like, this is great. Now anybody can learn anything anytime they want.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have that piece of paper, of course, but still, I mean, oh, I thought Ben had something for us.
Yeah, it seemed like there was something. Sorry to cut you off. What were you saying there before?
uh, I don't know. I was on a roll, and you were on a roll, and we're just kind of just going. I totally forgot. It's been a long day, Glenn.
Ah,
Very long day. So actually, I'm curious, is there anything like what just kind of off topic, that what we're doing up here with building a network, is that happening down there? Are people really grabbing hold of this live streaming?
oh yeah. I sort of it's almost at the point where it's oversaturated. Sort of every channel has shifted to live streaming so that you're just bombarded and it's almost like you don't even know where to look.
Right.
With shows all day sort of a lot of the big venues are shifting to live stream and they're scheduling as early as 10 a.m. So 10 a.m., 12 noon, 3 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. So there's shows on these
Wow.
networks all day. Um, and then from a sort of the other thing that's huge in town are studios. There's so many recording studios in town and session players that play in those studios like every day. Bass players, guitar players, drummers. And what's
Now, when
happened,
you say, I'm sorry, when you say a session player, that's with their job. They just play
they
music for bands.
just they play music. So for artists who want to record a song, and they just have like a guitar and a vocal, but they want the whole treatment. They want drums, bass. They want it to sound like a real band.
Gotcha. Okay.
Those players are called session musicians. Um, and what's happened now is those session musicians, a lot of them have, like a home studio setup like I have, and are recording parts from home, dropping them in Dropbox, sending them to an engineer, and that engineer is taking parts from, all over town basically and working on
Wow.
them remotely.
That that's actually pretty cool when you think about it.
Yeah,
That
musicians are scrappy.
yeah,
They're pretty good at adapting to things, it seems like.
that's it. You do what you got to do. It reminds me of when I started this company. It's just you do what you got to do. You
That's it.
figure it out, and you make a dollar last you as long as you possibly can. You stretch it into $2. You do what you got to do.
Yeah,
And
and then
yeah,
I think it's one of those things when you're starting out, it's that first job, that first 3 jobs are the hardest to get, and then sorta after that, it just takes off.
it's that snowball effect.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. So the music scene actually, when COVID's not happening, it must be crazy down there. So you just walk. Is there like a main drag? You walk down, and
Yeah.
there's all these different bands playing.
Yeah, the main drag here is called Broadway,
Okay.
and it's, uh, maybe 5 or 6 block street, 3 floor bars, and every floor has a band playing all day.
No way.
Oh, yeah. So
All day they have different acts all day long.
all day long, all 3 floors each bar, 3 bands each floor. It's insane.
Wow.
It
So you
really
really you
is.
really get your pick of music down there.
Yeah, they call it Nash Vegas, that little strip, and
Nashville.
it's insane.
I tell you, I've never even passed through. I got to get down to Nashville. It sounds like a great town.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's funny because like that strip is like sort of like Times Square in New York, where if you live there, you don't go there. But if you're not from there, that's the first part you want to go to.
Of course, that's yeah.
Um, and it is fun, like when people come to visit, you know, it's sort of like, oh, all right, I guess I'll go drink and have fun and listen to bands all day. Just twist my arm.
I know, right?
Um,
So, what is the population of Nashville? Just out of curiosity.
It's I mean, before all this, the sort of the number was 150 people move here every day. It's a fast growing city, and it's been that way for the last 10 plus years.
Right.
I don't know the
Now,
exact population though.
well, it's still 150 a day. Now, of course, it's not all musicians. I would imagine it's people going like
No,
bartenders,
bartending is
lawyers, everything.
huge.
Yeah.
Amazon opened a sort of headquarters here
Mhm.
last year. So there's a lot of tech. There's a lot of startups. It's a favorable state. There's no income tax, so a lot of people
Oh, wow.
like
Oh,
that.
nice.
That's a nice thing.
Yeah. Sounds like there's a lot going on. Plus, it's gotta be a good climate too, right? Right in the
Yeah, good climate.
middle. Yeah.
It's a mild winter, and yeah, it's been in the 70s for the last couple months. So
Must be nice.
yeah, not to brag, but
This is probably it's funny because I was speaking to my editor. She recently moved out to Utah, and we were chatting a couple weeks ago, and she's like, "Ugh, I tell you, we had the best spring. It's gorgeous every day." I'm like, "Brooke, do you know what's going on here in Rhode Island?
yeah,
This is the worst spring." It reminds me of a springtime in Alaska when I was living up there. Cold, wet, rainy, and
right.
windy. Yeah,
Well,
it's
it's like that false spring.
right.
It's the winter that doesn't end.
Exactly. And we had a mild winter, so I'm really not too kinda pissed, but for the most part, I'm just like, "Come on. Let's go summer. Get here."
Yeah.
So we can at least have some kind of summer up here. See how that goes. Cool. All right. Well, Glenn, we are hitting a half hour, and that's
All
kind of
right.
about the time when our listeners and watchers start moving on.
Sure, sure.
But thank you for taking the time. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate this, and good luck with your new album.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, Shane. It was great talking to you.
There's Mr. Ben Barber.
Hey guys. Um Glenn, cheers everybody. So Glenn,
Cheers, man.
hey, thanks. So Glenn, with your permission, can I play us out with a video from you?
Sure.
Thanks, man. Also Shane.
Yeah, oh, go for it, man. You're a
I
producer.
assumed Shane was fine. I
I'm
wanted
just
to
the
ask
talking head right now. That's it.
So okay, cool. And everybody check out Glenn's album Friday, which is going to be awesome. And you're also going to be on the the Knickerbocker Tap Rooms live stream showcase on Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday night the tap room is doing a show at 8 o'clock with seven artists,
Yeah.
each playing a few songs. So that'll be really cool.
Definitely. Hosted by me for some reason. So
You're
that's
a
cool.
pro at this. That's why.
Force of habit. So all right, thank you very much, Glenn. Shane, do you wanna give a little outro and then I'll play the video?
Sounds like a plan.
All
All
right.
right, Glenn.
Since you guys have the connection of the live streaming for the football games, I figured I would go with an acoustic version of an old Wild Sun song that I love very much. So
Love it.
bye,
All right.
Glenn.
See you,
Bye,
Glenn.
Glenn.
Thanks.
Bye, Shane.
All right, everybody. That was the Salty Bartender. Every Wednesday night, 9 o'clock, right on Westerly Live, Facebook, as well as the new website, westerly.live. Check that out. It's growing, building. It's going to be the new network for the Westerly area. So check that out. Ben's going to play us out with a song by Wild Sun. So I'm Shane B., the Salty Bartender for Westerly Life, reminding you to enjoy your Westerly life.
Song about gossip. Fishbowl Town is Westerly, but any small town really. And when I wrote it, someone had asked me, or not even asked me, they said, "Hey, I heard you were with so-and-so." That wasn't even true. I mean, it would have been cool, but I wasn't. But it's just funny the things people say. and even if they're true or not. And usually you don't want them to be true. That I did, but this is Fishbowl Town. Put the pundits on an endless loop. They know more about you than you know about you. A full newscast of every lover past. She wasn't his first, he wasn't her last. It's idle kind of thinking, but it's second skin. We chastise our friends for the same damn things. Watch your secrets become headlines. You're a secondary source for your own life. What can we do without the news? Don't need to know who's in cahoots with my brother. Oh, it's a fishbowl town, so the word gets around before we're even under the covers. So none of us ever can get off easily. Tie a paper trail to both of your feet, so I know all the things you've done before we even meet. Sell your friends out over some drinks. Tell me why they're wrong, as if I cared what you think. A spoken inventory of who's getting laid. Well, you're thinking to yourself, well, I bet it felt great. God forbid we draw the line. Can we do without the news? Don't need to know who's in cahoots with my brother. Oh, it's a fishbowl town, so the word gets around before we're even under the covers. And none of us ever can get off easily. Can we do without the news? Don't need to know who's in cahoots with my brother. Oh, it's a fishbowl town, so the word gets around before we're even under the covers. So none of us ever can get off easily.